All right.
Okay, good.
Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, fam?
Week number 2.
Episode number 2.
Yeah. In reality, it's been like a year, but
Yeah. Well, they don't know.
nah.
You
They
don't
don't
need
need-
to know.
That's another day, another story.
That's another facts. So we're talking about Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. Coming to Columbus. But I was going to say that the reason I really want to see him is just for redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first time I saw him, no joke, disappointed.
Really?
Like, flat out, like, I don't know what he was doing on stage. He just, like, brought a different presence than what you would expect him to bring.
Totally.
It was such a, like, happy, chill vibe of just, like, let's party down. And, like, it just didn't match Kendrick's demeanor.
Right.
Ever since he's came out with To Pimp a Butterfly, like, he's changed up his shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen it live on TV. Not actually live. But, yeah, it was really disappointing seeing him at first.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he would switch up, he would take out parts of his songs
Mm-hmm.
completely.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not what people would be. I don't know. That's not what I would pay for. If
Yeah.
I'm going to watch Kendrick Lamar, like, I want to see.
Especially the art of peer pressure.
Right.
He fucking took out the entire second part
No way.
of, like, the art of peer pressure.
That's one of the best songs on that album.
Yeah.
So that you went during
was,
his Good Kid, Mad City
Yeah.
phase.
It was, I
tour.
think probably about 6, or wait, yeah, about half a year to like 9 months before he came out with To Pimp a Butterfly. So it was like at the end of his victory tour of Kid, Mad City.
Maybe he was just tired.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got the bad show right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'd love to see Kendrick. I think, although to be fair, I've spoken with a lot of people who have seen Kendrick live, including yourself.
Yeah.
And like most of them have told me the same thing you've told me, and they're like people that are really into hip hop. They tell me that like Kendrick is kind of like was not what you would expect.
Yeah.
Given
Not
how
gonna
good
lie,
he
like,
sounds.
Hip hop performances are very tough to do live when you have like the standard bearers of
Mhm.
like Kanye, and I think I would put up there like the best performer that I've seen is probably Run the Jewels for like regular hip hop
Interesting.
tag team. Yeah.
I've never been to a hip hop show, unfortunately, but I'd really like to. One time, this happened in Miami. It happened during my gap year. Kanye and Jay-Z came to the AAA to perform their Watch the Throne tour,
Yeah.
and they did they did Persons in Paris 9 straight times. 9. I'm not lying. They did it 9 straight times. I had a friend who
9 straight times.
who went to that concert, and they just listened to Kanye and Jay-Z do that song 9 straight. People were just like hyped. He said it was one of the hypest things that he's ever seen in his life.
I've never heard an artist do a song more than twice, but it's never been in a row. Like that shows so much confidence in like an artist
Hell yeah,
to
dude.
like you just build the song and again and again.
Especially that song. That whole album is just pumping you up and making you feel like, all right, let's get this shit.
It's a celebration album. Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's hype. It's all hype.
But it's weird. I didn't really listen to like either Jay-Z or Kanye until I came to Earlham. Like
Really?
I've never, yeah. I listened to a little bit of Kanye in like high school.
I listened to a lot of Jay-Z before I came here, and then I listened to more Kanye once I got here. But they're both still among. I think Kanye is much better, but like, I don't know. I just think Kanye is amazing, dude. Like to me, the College Dropout, Late Registration, and My Dark, Beautiful Twisted Fantasy are just 3 of my top 5. Hip hop albums, that I love and I enjoy. They have just such strong messages, and I think I'd put Graduation's not in my top 5, but it's up there too. I love those albums so much.
Yeah. See, I feel like I came from a strange place, from like coming from the suburbs. I mean, everyone, to diss the suburbs, you know, you just hear people talking about like Eminem nonstop in high school. Like,
that's something I really.
It was weird. It was Eminem and Kanye were like two names discussed in high school, until probably my senior year when I discovered like comedy and experimental rap. Before I got like into more mainstream and popular raps.
Eminem is certainly somebody like. I mean, could it be argued that Eminem brought rap and hip hop to the suburbs?
I think so. Like just from his image, his
a white dude that can rap really well.
Doesn't matter where he's from. Yeah, he has a movie to go along with it.
It's interesting. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no one watches the movie. They just ignore it. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, no, with my with a lot of my white friends, like their big thing, their whole like introduction to hip hop. You could, from every time I talk to them and stuff, like you could tell it's like Eminem and stuff. But even me too, like some of the first hip hop that I was like very aware of was Eminem. Like growing up, like Eminem was a big deal. I think to everybody. Yeah. But it certainly does represent something significant to white people. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. No, it's a very like easy way to get into the appropriation, but like I don't know, it can come from different places.
I mean, he's from Detroit, man. He's like
he's not.
Or he's from the trailer park place, and I don't know. I've only watched the movie.
Place at all. Yeah.
He's like not. I don't know much about Eminem, to be honest. Do you?
Not that much. Like I knew that he was in. At the time of the movie came out, he was already. I mean, very successful, and he came up through a hip hop collective beforehand.
Interesting.
I think he was the only white person in the hip hop group as well, called D12.
D12, yeah, right. I know D12 with what's his name? This dude Nate Dogg.
Nate Dogg, I think.
Nate Dogg was in D12. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Nate Dogg passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah. But getting back to talking about performances, man, it's something that's not to deny it. It's something that's been lacking on this campus.
I mean,
it's.
I don't know, man. I just when I think of our school and I think of like what our school is, what it could be, people have a lot of ideas, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's a difference between like ideas and like the reality of situations or the result of just certain decisions and stuff. And the way Earlham is, it's just, I don't know, it's like kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really don't blame people. I don't blame people. Like when you got to do so much work, like, and we do a lot of boring ass work. Like, yes, it's interesting, if you're into what you're doing, and that's a good thing.
But it can become very monotonous.
Oh, absolutely.
Certain portions.
That's why you can't get mad at people when they drink or they smoke. Like, it's bad enough where, like, in Indiana, like, shit.
We see people starting to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
I know.
I started smoking cigarettes.
I've been, like, on and off doing that.
It's like
sophomore year.
It's like, I don't blame people. Shit. That's why I'm not, like, I'm kind of psyched about going back home,
Yeah.
Because, like, now I'm like, oh, shit, like I actually want to do things, and I want to, like, see things and people and places, and
you have that. You have a decent ability to do that in Miami.
Oh yeah. Miami's definitely, even though we're sinking, there's a lot of things there, man. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things everywhere. I mean, we just happen to live in a small, like, community.
You know what I've wondered? I haven't talked to you about this, but the Miami comedy scene.
The Miami comedy scene?
Yeah. What's your influences, and what have you seen, like, within that
Well,
scope?
so I've gone to a couple of open mics. I've never gone to a comedy show in the sense that, like a professional comedy show or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have the South Beach like comedy festival, which happens every year, and
Okay.
all like the main comedians come through and they like perform and stuff. And you know, big acts are always coming through Miami, like. But in terms of like local talent, like it's not like New York or LA or Chicago or Boston, like, or you know, it's just not like those places.
But it can be a starting ground.
Oh yeah, totally.
To get to those places.
I'm really, to be honest, I'm really surprised because I think there's a lot of potential. Because I think, at least from my like experiences and stuff, like Miami's just, it's a crazy place to live, and I think crazy is one of the best things for like comedians.
Yeah.
Like Miami's an insane place. Like there are just so many people from around the world, like doing their own thing, but also like they're forced to deal with each other.
Florida comedians. I don't know why the top of my head is Daniel Tosh.
Daniel Tosh, yeah, and he's not really, and you know, and he's from Central Florida too. He's like,
okay, yeah.
He's like not the comedian I would. When I think of Florida, I think of like, I don't know. I'm thinking of South Florida a lot.
Southern Florida.
But
I know the divide between.
There's a big divide there, absolutely.
Northern and Central and Southern Florida.
Central's always trying to be a part of like Southern too, but we don't. I don't know. There's a big debate as to where it ends.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about that. I feel like sometimes I have to explain that to people, like where I come from in Indiana.
Right.
That it's not. I mean, there's some similarities with like Indianapolis, but just like the way Indiana is spread out, not to, like, Richmond it's in the worst part. There's no denying it. Like,
yeah.
Everyone knows it, and no one talks about it where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one talks about this area. They'll talk about Indianapolis. They'll talk about Bloomington.
Right.
And maybe like West Lafayette, and that's about.
About it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Huh. And what would you say? I'd like to hear some more about your thoughts on this. What's up with Richmond relative to the rest of Indiana? What's up with that? What makes this place so different or worse, as you've
makes this place
so?
It's just worse politically.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the people in the city of Richmond are like very, very like moderate to conservative, Democratic, and then the people outside of it are like old KKK members, and like staunch like Tea Party people, staunch.
Have you heard of this
neoconservatives?
That like Richmond group on Facebook?
No.
It's like this. It's like Richmond Speak Up. I'm totally getting it wrong. And somebody of the like 10 people that will listen to this podcast, like one of them will actually know. Will know what the name of this Facebook group is. It's like Speak Up Richmond, some shit like that. And it's just like mad racist and sexist and like it's just everything you would expect Richmond to be. Really.
Richmond on the internet, where it can just be unfiltered.
Unfiltered, exactly. Yeah. Unfiltered Richmond. That's what it is. And yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy to me because I mean I come from a place that's like pretty diverse politically ish, but I don't think I'd ever hear this kind of shit. Like you I mean you have divisions, but you don't have like such white supremacist like attitudes that are so like out there and obvious. But the thing is, it's not obvious to them because they all. That's the thing, man.
The Indiana countryside. It's
when you're not living with people that like think differently or look differently or have a different experience from you. Like
it's a small world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like what one of the comedians said, like about like why does this place have so many fucking like VHS stores and stuff. Like it's it's the only place that can exist like that, where so many people are like using outdated technology.
That's interesting. Do you think that a place is like more likely to be like politically or ideologically like conservative, depending on like the access to technology and stuff? You know,
I think it could be. I think people who are conservative who have like a lot of access to technology are very libertarian.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, libertarians are, I don't know. I have a lot of things to say about libertarians. I think they're just conservatives that got over the gay thing. That's my whole, like...
Or they don't have to directly deal with the gay thing.
Right, that's true.
Like, you just live in a place that's... Yeah, you don't have to deal with, like... Everyone, looks white. Everyone's pretty much straight,
Mm-hmm. I had a professor who... my 10th grade history professor, he was, like, a really just out there, like, libertarian dude, and he, like, totally just taught us, like, American history from a white male perspective. And it was really, really weird. Because, like, he was doing this in, like, a basically 99% Hispanic high school. And, like, they just let him get away with that. And the funny thing was, there were people who pushed against it. So they're like, I remember a lot of students being like, I don't like what he's teaching us. Like, this is kind of bullshit. Like, but I ate it up when I was in the 10th grade. Oh yeah, dude, I ate it up. I don't know why. I just thought, like, the thing about libertarianism, for me, it was like kind of like an alternative, because you know how people are, like, most people, like, tend to be very liberal when they're young.
Yeah.
And stuff. I was pretty conservative with respect to, like, some of my political beliefs, and I think that was due in part because of him. And, well, one, because I was young, and two, because, like, libertarianism, when you're, like, just starting to be aware of political shit, can be it's a very interesting and,
it can
like...
be very attractive.
Attractive, yeah.
I've noticed that, too. I mean, I come from a position where I was, like, the second son, and, like... My parents told me, like, about the public school system. They're like, you're going to be taught some biased bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to talk this through, and, like, we talked about, like, a lot of political stuff, like, at home, and made it a very political setting.
Interesting.
So, like, even though, like, almost all of my teachers in high school that taught history were libertarians.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Or, like, moderate conservatives, yeah.
That's really, really...
It's a public Indiana high school.
No, but in Florida, it was that way as well. We had, most of the time, we were more likely to encounter somebody who was more sympathetic, even though most, like, history teachers will, like, tell you, like, I'm not going to let you guys know what my political affiliations are, because that would be unprofessional. I don't think that's real. I think that's bullshit.
But it slides through. Like, you
can tell, man.
Help yourself from from discussing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When it's in a history class.
And history is inherently political.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, I think everything is political, but that's not a popular thing to say.
No, and it's like, it's so like subversive and like so many things that you can't, like, necessarily specifically define right away. And, like,
Doug, we never talked about black people in history class. Like, we really never talked about black people. Even, like, because my American history teacher, he really just didn't talk about, like, we didn't really have a focus on the civil rights movement. It wasn't like, I don't remember that being a big deal. Like, I figured it's been a big deal in college.
Yeah.
And like I've learned a lot about the civil rights movement. I've learned a lot about what happened after the civil rights movement, which is something people don't like to talk about. Hashtag Waits, or the Watts, not Waits, Watts. Just a lot of things, man. History is.
But did you get incredible. Like a Latino's perspective?
No, not even a Latino's perspective. Well, I got it from my family.
You got it from your family.
I got it from my family,
obviously,
but not at school.
I didn't get any of that, and, like, the little black history that we were told is very, very generic. Like, Martin Luther King oriented. The Supreme Court cases oriented.
Right.
Not really explaining the specifics.
Right. It was always a very controlled.
Like,
it was always in a very controlled.
CP.
It was always in a sort of controlled framework. Like, this is what's acceptable to the mainstream, like, culture. Like, we're gonna talk about black people as being, like, pacifist and being, like, all these movements and stuff being as pacifist and shit like that. And,
like, I don't want to be weird, but, like, the two big, like, people who are considered martyrs, like, that we discussed, you know, like, the one discussed outside of class
Mm-hmm.
was Kurt Cobain, and the one inside of class was Martin Luther King. Like everyone to him was like this kind of idolized person, but it was like there were these specific ideas, like I have a dream that everyone is going to be equal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a weird comparison for me that like
Mm-hmm.
I can make.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't really.
That everyone like sees that martyrdom. Like they see a simple message out of Martin Luther King instead of like the history.
Oh, so
like,
complicated
yeah.
and like hard work and like people fucking hated this guy's guts.
Yeah.
Fucking the majority of Americans thought Martin Luther King was like basically a terrorist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like with all the shit he was saying, and he was like moderate when you think of like when you compare Martin Luther King to people like Malcolm X, who was like saying some real shit,
or just like people's like view of the Black Panther movement,
or the Black Panther movement, absolutely.
Within our high school was just like these are some radicals, but you come here and
dog. There's the history of the Black Panther party is fascinating because and it's inherently linked to the gun debate nowadays. Are you aware of that? Are you aware that in the 1970s and 60s, gun laws and stuff were put in place to make sure that black people would not have guns? That's kind of the origin of these laws. I didn't know that. Yeah.
There's so many of those.
Because the Panther
laws.
Party, because the police didn't do the police wouldn't go to black communities to protect them and stuff. They go to fucking occupy them and fucking oppress them and shit most of the time. And fucking so what the Black Panther Party did was they said fuck this, we're gonna be our own the own protectors, the own keepers of our community. So they bought guns, and so you had these black dudes and these black women as well, like walking around with guns and shit, and that made the police very uncomfortable. And guess who was governor of California when that was happening? Ronald fucking Reagan. This is also linked, man. Everything is so linked. Racism in this country. Since we're on the topic, I want to ask you, what do you think about all these? Everybody's been talking about it. What's the gun violence in America? What's up with that?
The gun violence, and everyone's putting the blame on mental health. It's so twisted to see I don't know, man. Everyone trying to put the focus on something else, or just you see these people the Republican candidates saying someone's got to step up and be a superhero out of a fucking movie in these circumstances.
It's childish.
It's crazy that people can say this, and they're just fuck yeah. If I was in that situation, I would fucking take it to him. To me, it's I think we need to take all guns away. I don't know what or how we could do that right now, though. It's a tough thing to do.
I think it's definitely very tough. I have a lot of friends who are. I'm from Florida, all right. I'm just gonna say that right out of the gate. I'm from Florida, and my experiences with guns has been a little different from a lot of my friends from the Northeast have been. I know a lot of people that own guns. They're good people. They're my friends. I love them very much. But I do think they're wrong.
Yeah.
I think that
to change as a society, we have to look at what are we using? We're using guns for hunting. Are we using guns for self-defense?
And there's a difference.
Way,
and there's a difference between having some people would say no guns at all, and I'd say, well, I don't know about that. I think that's a long conversation. Hell, I don't even think I'm the right person to be having this conversation right now, but it still needs to be said.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to think about.
I don't think you need fucking. I don't think you need shit that you would use in fucking war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't need people coming out being we need teachers to be warriors. We need,
Fuck that, dog. Yeah. I'm thinking about being a teacher, and I don't want to like learn how to use a gun. Like, what kind of? And they're not gonna raise your pay either. You have to like learn how to fucking shoot a gun to protect your class in the event of a shooting and stuff. And like, what? Fuck you. Like, it's a very twisted. This place is very twisted. The United States. Like, fucking anybody can buy a gun, but women can't get abortions.
Man, about that too. That's just like, why the fuck is this still like this is gonna keep on being a debate about like the acceptance of abortions. Like, it's been, I feel like it should be settled. Like,
I mean, it was in 1970s.
Yes, it was settled by court case, and like
Roe v. Wade said, abortions are legal. Like, yes, but
and by having Planned Parenthood, it like helps out low-income families.
It does, and I think the funny thing is,
and if we don't help them out, it has so many negative impacts, even on gun violence. Like,
yeah, of course, it absolutely does. I don't know if you've read like Freakonomics, but like the first chapter of that book, it's often quoted. It's like one of the reasons we have such low, crime as a whole went down was because of abortions, because low-income people weren't forced to, have babies, and have kids in like fucked up situations. Yeah, which is so true. Like, you will totally have like
it's getting the sex education into like these low-income areas. Yeah, that is so crucial. Yeah, and something like
all areas.
Yeah,
all areas. I mean, not just low-income. All areas.
Even still at college, man, there's still hear tons of stupid shit all the time. Yeah. I say stupid shit sometimes,
Hey, it's fine to say stupid shit, man, as long as you own it and you just say, yeah, okay, I said something stupid. You learn. Yeah. It's okay to learn, I think that's what... But that's the thing. Some people aren't open to having this conversation, aren't open. And I'm open to hearing other people, like, say, their like opinions and stuff. People from other like persuasions and other takes on this like issue and stuff. Like, I think nobody should be forced to have an abortion. And the funny thing is that's not the case. No one has ever been forced to like have an abortion. You choose to have an abortion.
I think the best like message.
I say this as a man.
Was like,
as a man who will never have an abortion.
Was in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like watching, it was Mac versus like Dennis, and Dennis is pro-abortion. Yeah, Mac is pro-life.
Oh, I remember this episode. I know this episode. Go, continue.
Mac begins a romantic relationship with a girl on the pro-life side, and then he's just like, he's so convinced that he's in the right until she tells him that he's pregnant. I mean, and that switches him to the other side. And it's just something like that, where it's like the characters are so, they just give a shit about themselves. Yeah. And they're so, and that kind of fits humanity. We need to have this safety net for people who are selfish as shit. Because at the end of the day, we're selfish people.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, no, that's the thing, Doug. I think a lot of
if we don't have this safety net, that fucks up so many people and so many lives. Like. When you don't have this safety net of, like...
I completely agree with that. I mean, and you hit on some really good points. Like, one of the big hypocrisies of the right, and everybody on the right, and a lot of people who of the pro-life movement, which is not the pro-life movement, it's the, like... that because, man, that's such a good name for, like, a movement that, tries to sell themselves as, like, protecting lives. But, like, they're totally... It's not the pro-life, it's the anti-women getting abortions. Yeah. It's the anti-women movement, really. That's a better word for it.
Not respecting.
Yeah, it's anti-women. It's just an anti-women movement. That's all it is. It's not pro-life. If you were pro-life, you would give a shit about that life after after it was born as like a human and shit, and it wasn't a fucking fetus anymore. You'd give a shit about feeding it and educating it and making sure it was fine. Nah, you're just an anti-woman. You're an asshole. Otherwise known as a Republican.
Yeah.
Man.
That's a really good point.
I don't know. Man. I don't know. There's just it, and I mean everybody's a hypocrite at the end of the day, but that's just something that's like, damn, dude. Like, and you said this before. Like, do we really have to keep having this debate? Like, I thought, it was over. Yeah. It should be over, but it's not. And there's a reason for that. And people on the other side, pro-choice people or whatever, which is also not a good name for.
No.
The thing with liberals, man, is we're so bad at like labeling stuff and framing the arguments and like we're so bad at that, and people on the right are really good at that shit. Yeah. And like that's half the battle right there. Unfortunately, the battle's not even. Ideas. It's not rationality. It's just selling the idea.
Yeah. Like, making your idea a sexy, attractive idea.
Yeah.
To everyone.
That's such a sad thing. That our politics have come to that.
They've really always been that way. That's like a weird thing to say.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah. Yes.
It's just changed throughout the mediums. I mean, as we have like television and social media today, people can say even more crazy shit on top of one another.
Big money and big media, dog. Big money and big media is just like giving it a new spin.
Yeah. It's given new power, new ways it can just infiltrate our lives.
Yeah, man. Like it's like a David and Goliath almost, but Goliath thinks it's David sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, that's the good thing. That's the bad thing, not the good thing.
Right. Yeah.
About like. You can see that perspective from the way like the media shifts. You can see yourself as the underdog, and in
any situation, anybody can see themselves as the underdog because of the media.
Yeah,
the media, like that's what Fox News does, dog. Fox News tells middle class people,
old
people that. Poor people are the problem.
Yeah,
and are the like source of like the problem, and like people who are
stay
people
of
home. Color.
Don't go outside.
That's where the colored people are.
Yeah.
Buy guns. Don't get abortions. Yeah, dude, it's silly, man. It's really silly. And you know what? I don't hate. And I think there's something needs to be said because maybe somebody will hear this. Who's like a conservative and say, fuck these dudes, they're like so biased and whatever, and I mean, yeah, I'm fucking biased, but I don't hate you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I really don't.
And you can critique us just as much as we critique you.
I really don't like. I really want to make that a point and stuff, and I think I want to try to like have more conversations with people who have different opinions from me, in like a respectful manner, because I'd like to learn where they're coming from, because they're coming from something.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're saying all this shit. There's a reason we're saying all this shit.
Yeah.
I think that's
the question we pose to you guys at the end of this podcast. So think about that.
Yeah.
This has been Right On, Darren Gass.
And Onedo.
Peace.